No matter what kind of project you have around the shop, if you're looking for some tips and some help, it's time for Sam's Garage, presented by ARP with Master Mechanic Sam Mamolo.
Hey, welcome to Sam's Garage. Well, my buddy Dennis Overholser is back here this week, just like he promised me last week, to help me put in this trail rocker setup. So where'd this concept come from?
Well, we all know that Jeeps are just a real hot commodity right now, and everybody's adding all the lights and compressors and everything, all accessories, and you got to run them somehow. You got to provide power, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
we've come up with this system, which is complete plug and play, with all the switches and relays and so forth, to power up all those different functions that you need to do. And it comes complete, like I said, with the circuit protection, with the fuses, mounting bracket, everything's there. All you got to do is put it on. No cutting, drilling.
Just like an OE electrical center, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes,
and of course, this is the switch box. And on this particular one, this is a 6-speed manual transmission. We've got 6 real high quality rocker switches that illuminate when you turn them on. This is going to mount on the bracket. It's not used in this vehicle because it's a soft top. There's a bracket from the factory that this will go on. That's where they lock on the hard top.
Yes.
Okay? And again, this is a manual transmission, so you have your switches up there. If you got an automatic, you got that covered too, right?
Yes, that's what you see down here, Sam, is the plate that goes in right in front of the shifter. You just pull the original piece out and that just snaps right in. No cutting, no drilling. Right
in front of the dash, it's plug and play. All right, so the instructions I looked at, and I was reading them, believe it or not, I actually did that, but these are some of the best I've seen. Full color, step by step. Where do you like to start when you install? I know you put a bunch of these in.
I would rather start at the battery and put the fuse center and everything in at the battery, and then we'll go from there and spread it out.
All right, let's go to work. You know, in any project you do like this, first thing you want to do is remove the negative battery cable first, and don't wear any jewelry, no rings and watches, right?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so according to the instructions, the first thing we're going to do here is we got a factory harness attached to this little plastic piece. I took the engine cover off. We're going to take a pair of pliers, a pair of side cutters here, and we're going to pull these out. You can cut them off, you can do whatever you want, whatever works for you, because we're going to relocate this harness using an Adele clip. Let me get this other one here off. Be careful not to damage your harness. There's nothing to it. Okay, so now this is going to go down. We're going to take, this is an Adele clip. It's a strap, but it's rubber protected. They use in the aircraft all the time. And you get nice stainless hardware in the Painless kit. And these fenders are slick, by the way. What we're going to do is, in this plastic, there's a hole right here. So we're going to utilize that hole, put this clip over it, put the bolt in, bolt it right there, and that takes that harness down out of the way and makes it easy for us to install our electrical center. All right, that takes care of that, Dennis. That's nice job, nice and located down there.
Sam.
Now, we got our electrical center. You can see this bracket. That's going to go right behind this factory stud that's got a flat wash on it. That'll mount it up here, and you can see the Painless heavy-duty battery cable will go right onto the OE battery cable clamp. The same thing with the ground will be mounted up here. Nice, neat job. So I got to have a 10 millimeter. And
here you go, Sam. I think that will do it for you.
where'd you get that stool? Don't break a sweat, buddy.
Hey, man.
You said you were coming to help.
I will. After you get it done, I'll help you raid the refrigerator or something. How's that?
There's a lot of good stuff in that refrigerator.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
And by the way, you notice how close I'm coming to the positive battery cable here. No problem, because I got the negative cable off. That's why you want to do that. If you don't disconnect your battery and you do what I'm doing, you'll be having sparks everywhere and you could hurt yourself. So be careful you do that. All right, now the reason I left that loose is I want to be able to position this right on top of here, and we're going to go through. I guess I need to cut those off. We're going to take the hardware and take these 2 bolts right here and bolt that right to the top of that.
That's correct.
Okay, you can see now we have our electrical center all mounted. I've got the positive cable bolted right here to the original factory battery cable. Ground's here, and you can see the harness come back and these Adele clips that are supplied in the kit. Keep it nice. All we got to do now is make our harness nice and neat across the top of the firewall here, and then go through the firewall, through the factory hole with a grommet and go inside. But we got a lot to do. Quick break, we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Winners rely on ARP.
Hey, this is Fast Jack Beckman, and when you're driving a 10,000 horsepower nitromethane car, you can't afford to take chances. That's why Don Schumacher Racing uses nothing but ARP products.
When we use nothing but the best that keeps us right and tight, that's ARP.
You can have zero failure with your engine, and that's why we depend on ARP fasteners. I always have all my career, all my championships. I rely on ARP for one reason: they are the best.
You know, here at Sam's Garage, we choose the Easy Run engine test stand to run all our engines before we put them in a vehicle. It's fully complete, it's all made out of steel, powder coated, made in America, by the way. Has a full dashboard with a tachometer and all the gauges, radiator, fuel tank, battery box, all kinds of accessories. Super universal, imported domestic, engines bolt on it really easily, rolls around the shop well. It's a high quality product, Easy Run engine test stand.
Sam's Garage, presented by ARP, is brought to you by Painless Performance, American made, American proud. ARP, proudly made in the USA, the world leader in fastener technology. LMC Truck, restore, maintain, customize, parts and accessories for Chevy, GMC, Ford and Dodge trucks and SUVs. OPGI, world-class restoration parts.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage. You know, we've got our wire harness here. Let me get this compressor out of the way. All loomed across, nice and neat, keeps it away and keeps it protected. This guy had a compressor installed, fits over the booster, so I moved it. He's got a lot of things already installed in his Jeep.
Yep.
So, this wire harness here is going to go through the firewall.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
the neat part is we don't have to cut anything.
We'll just take the grommet that's already in there from the factory.
Right
we'll
there.
take it out, put this one, put the wires through, then put the grommet back in, and fish the wires down on the inside, and we're done in there.
Okay, and now we got the rest of this harness with all the color-coded wires on it.
Right. This is the harness that will hook up to all the individual lights, the compressor, or whatever. They're super, super long, but we want it that way because we don't know what the individual is going to be needing the wires for. So maybe some of them may need to go to the tail for rear lights or whatever. Right. So anyways, we'll just cut them to length, and then we'll be ready to splice them into all the parts that you have hanging down over there.
That's great. That way there'll be no splices. So we're going to pop out this grommet, feed this wire through, and then we'll be inside. Okay, I jumped ahead a little bit by getting in here in the Jeep, and I pulled off this discussion trim cover, which goes over the windshield header, and I also got the cover off here, off the A-pillar. This is the bracket that we're looking at. There's 3 of them. Those are used when the Jeep has a hard top from the factory. It's secured there. They're not used with the soft top. But whether you have a hard top or a soft top, we're going to mount the switch panel up here on a manual transmission vehicle. Now, where the wire came through the firewall, there's a little panel here. I've already started to pop this off. Where we fed the wires through, this just pops out with standard Christmas trees. Little clips that plug in there. To get access to that, there's a little plate here. It's held down by a couple of 6mm screws with 10mm heads. I'm going to go ahead and pull those off so I can see if I can reach that. Nothing like air tools when you can use them. This panel, by the way, these things, they got like little clips, so when you take the screws out, they got to kind of pop up a little bit. There you go. And it'll pull out. You can see there's little clips here that clip it in. Anyway, I take my trusty flashlight. Now look, oh, there it is. I can see the wire way back there. That's why you want to pull that panel out, because it's way back there and you got to get your arm in. Okay. And there we go. There's our connector that we passed through the firewall. I put a little tape on it to protect it. Next thing we got to do is go up here and mount our switch box. We do that. This is plug and play. All goes together. The neat part about this whole kit that we're putting in from Painless, the trail rocker setup, it's made in America. I like that. All right, now mounting our switch box here, pretty easy. All we do is take out the 2 screws that held the center bracket. Okay, put the bracket in through the hole on the rocker switch box, so the bracket will sandwich it between the bracket, the screws, and that panel. And you tighten that up. Once that's tight, and by the way, they're torque screws, we'll have this harness, if I can get it out of here, and we'll run it, we'll tie it up nice down the A-pillar, and then this connector right here will plug right into that connector. It's plug and play.
Make it as easy as we can.
Painless, huh?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and thread this through, get down there, we'll hook it up. Once we do that, the trail rocker with all its switches is ready to operate. The fuses, the relays, you got good ground, you got solid power. Of course, we have to hook the battery cable back up, but our next move is going to be
Hook up all the wires to the lights and
right,
compressor and so forth.
exactly. And every switch, and you look in the manual, the switch has the wire color. So it tells these wires go to number 1 switch, number 2 switch, so on. So you know exactly what you're going to do.
Yep.
We're going to go ahead and finish dressing this all up. Going to take a quick break. Stick around. Got a lot more coming here at Sam's Garage.
Winners rely on ARP.
Hey, this is Fast Jack Beckman, and when you're driving a 10,000 horsepower nitromethane car, you can't afford to take chances. That's why Don Schumacher Racing uses nothing but ARP products.
And we use nothing but the best that keeps us right and tight. That's ARP.
You can have zero failure with your engine, and that's why we depend on ARP fasteners. I always have all my career, all my championships. I rely on ARP for one reason: they are the best.
You know, here at Sam's Garage, we choose the Easy Run engine test stand to run all our engines before we put them in a vehicle. It's fully complete, it's all made out of steel, powder coated, made in America, by the way. Has a full dashboard with a tachometer and all the gauges, radiator, fuel tank, battery box, all kinds of accessories. Super universal, imported domestic, engines bolt on it really easily, rolls around the shop well. It's a high quality product, Easy Run engine test stand. Welcome back. Okay, we put a positive battery cable on. You want to check for arcing, make sure everything's good. Don't forget to tighten up. This is kind of a cam-like affair. Make sure that cable's good and tight. Here's our trail rocker electrical box. There's our fuse and relay center. It has a nice cover on it. Now, when it comes to wiring the switches, help me out here, but I'm gonna make you work, do something.
Yeah, you gotta do something.
We started testing, and of course, we want to go to switch number 1. So you look in the book and it tells you,
Switch number 1 is the gray white wire.
all right, now you can see how long these wires are. What we did was opened up the loom. Thank you, hold that. Opened up the loom, and we pull the wire out, and look at how much we cut off. This is good wire. You could save it, you can use it around the shop. So we're wired in, and now in the kit you get a nice little set of crimps with heat shrink. You crimp it, heat shrink it, makes a nice, neat connection. We made a ground. We have a dedicated ground coming from the battery. We're using this as a ground point. If we flip on, and that happens to be the hood light.
If you want to turn it on?
You think it'll
Let's
work?
try it out and see what
Go
it
for
does.
it. All right. So switch
here we
number
go.
1. Here we go, and it works.
How about that?
All right. So now we got another set of wires here. Take my little power probe. You can use any kind of a circuit tester here, and we'll power up this wire and see what it goes to. I believe these are the lights at the top. Look at that. Okay, so let's put these overhead lights on this little bar here on number 2,
Which is blue.
which is blue. All right, so what we do again, open up the braid here, and we'll take, is that a dark blue? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll pull this out, and the same thing, we're going to make this nice and neat. You can probably cut it there. What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
And I'll pull the rest of it out this way
There you go.
and tie it up.
So you can see you've got plenty of wire and the nice heavy wires. We're going to make this nice and neat, keep everything put together. So we're going to come here and splice into this. I think probably that right there is good enough. We'll cut this. And when you're stripping for these crimps, you don't need a big piece. Maybe what?
About 1/4 inch.
About a 1/4 inch.
3/16 to 1/4 inch is max.
Okay. So If you're good with, that's about right, if you can see that. Don't forget to put your shrink tubing on before you crimp it all together. I've seen guys, and I've done it, I've had to cut things apart. If you split the shrink tubing on, you're wasting your time, it'll never work. It fits in there nice and tight. Don't over crimp. Be careful to put your stake on the opposite side of the split. Make sure you're getting the wire in there. Give it a nice, don't over crimp again. Make sure you got a nice tight connection. Slip that on there. I'll plug in a heat gun, shrink that down. You know, I think we're ready to check that one too.
Might just as well.
All right.
Let me tie this up real quick, Sam.
All right.
And then I'll go inside and we'll turn it on and see what we got.
And again, we made a dedicated ground, decided that this body ground is not good enough. We go all the way back to the battery, and we can tie, since all the wires are in this area, we can tie it all in. We can tie things up nice and neat, and that'll work great.
All right, we're going to turn them on, Sam.
All right, buddy. Nice.
How about that?
We got 2 sets of lights working, and that's how you do it. You find out which color wire by looking at the book that's assigned to which switch, and you just hook it up. Do a nice job with the heat shrink. When you're done, you can put some nice covering over it. Mm-hmm. Always make it nice and even.
Yeah. Keep it away from sharp edges, you know, all the normal stuff.
Yeah, it's just common sense. We got to wire the compressor yet, the winch. We got a few more things to do, but you get the idea. The Painless trail rocker setup gives you fuse protection, relay circuits, a good ground. It's a great way to go. And thanks for all your help.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
I know you broke a sweat today.
I broke 2 or 3 of them today. Missed my nap. Gee whiz.
We got a lot more coming here at Sam's Garage. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Winners rely on ARP.
Hey, this is Fast Jack Beckman, and when you're driving a 10,000 horsepower nitromethane car, you can't afford to take chances. That's why Don Schumacher Racing uses nothing but ARP products.
When we use nothing but the best that keeps us right and tight, that's ARP.
You can have 0 failure with your engine, and that's why we depend on ARP fasteners. I always have all my career, all my championships. I rely on ARP for one reason: they are the best.
You know, here at Sam's Garage, we choose the Easy Run engine test stand to run all our engines before we put them in a vehicle. It's fully complete, it's all made out of steel, powder coated, made in America, by the way. Has a full dashboard with a tachometer and all the gauges, radiator, fuel tank, battery box, all kinds of accessories. Super universal, imported domestic, engines bolt on it really easily, rolls around the shop well. It's a high quality product, Easy Run engine test stand.
Sam's Garage, presented by ARP, is brought to you by Advertising Edge, the official uniform of the NHRA. Painless Performance, American made, American proud. Easy Run engine stand, save time, money, and aggravation. ARP, proudly made in the USA, the world leader in fastener technology.
You know, we all run into the situation where headers start to look shabby. Look at these are good headers, but the coating's coming off them, or the paint, whatever it had, they're rusting. So I took one of them, scuffed it down a little bit, and I shot this with KBS Extreme. It's a high temperature coating, resists up to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'll tell you what, this is cast iron gray. Really make this header look new, and you can use it on your entire exhaust system, from the headers all the way to the tailpipes. Comes in stainless steel, comes in cast iron gray, different colors. That's an aerosol. They have a 1-pint can, and of course you can brush it on because it's self-leveling. It flows out great, just like the KBS frame coater. This is some of the best coating in the business. It encapsulates the rust. One kit is complete. You get over 50 square foot coverage. You can coat the average frame twice with this, and you get everything you need: the degreaser, the blaster, and the sealer, gloves, directions. You can even get a brush. And of course, KBS stands for clean, blast, and seal. And you take like this little Pontiac subframe I've got here. If you want to get up inside the frame and keep it from rusting from the inside out, KBS has cavity coater. It creeps into wells and seams, it displaces water, and to get up in there, they provide this really nice spray nozzle and tube, and you can see this nozzle here is 360 degrees. Put it on the can, stick it up inside the chassis, start spraying and pull it out, and you coat the whole inside of your frame, prevent you from rusting from the inside out. When it comes to coatings, KBS has got you covered. All right, getting ready to put a radiator on our little JK here. This is a 2014 Rubicon, super little Jeep, okay? You guys go off the road, you know what you do. You twist these things, you're rock crawling, you're doing all those kinds of off-road, you know, gymnastics with these things. The frames flex. The weak link, and you already know this, in these trucks is the radiator. Those factory radiators, little aluminum core, plastic tanks, and they break, they leak, they do all kinds of things. We're gonna put a performance radiator in. This is from Flex-A-Lite. And here's the neat thing, made in the United States of America. This is different than most of your performance aluminum radiators. This is a high performance radiator. The tanks are extrusions. Most radiators start with a flat sheet and bend it. That's really weak. These extrusions are rugged. If you look right here, got a nice brass plug for a drain on the bottom. Everything's all welded. There's no epoxy in these things. They're hand welded and do a nice job. It's pretty weld. And of course, that gives it its strength. It's got fins on the outside and the inside. That way it has 135% more efficient cooling than a standard aluminum radiator. Also, it has 30% more coolant capacity. And speaking of coolant, when you take your drain plug out and you start draining it, catch the coolant. You know it's toxic. And if you get the coolant and you let it run down the driveway, of course, what's going to happen is it's going to attract animals because it's sweet, and that's not good for them. It's very toxic. Now let's take a look at these hose clamps here. Here's a little tip. These clamps are very tough. All right, when I say they're tough, you get a pair of pliers on them, you're gonna be a man to work them, but they're great clamps. Don't throw them away because they really do a good job. Get a nice, you can get these at any tool supplier or good parts store, and these things work great. You got plenty of room up here, but when you get down low, you don't have much room at all. Make sure it gets on there good, give it a squeeze. The neat part about these pliers is it locks, and then you can move the clamp right back on the hose, so it's a great way to go. It'll be a big investment. If you do a lot of these things, you want to do that. Now, if you look at this, this is a 6-speed gearbox, not an automatic, but if you look at this radiator, there is no cooler, no fittings for the cooler for the transmission. Flex-A-Lite's philosophy is get the cooler out of the radiator. The radiator is trying to cool the engine. Use an external cooler, and we'll cover that in a minute. Also on these tanks here, you'll see these slots, they supply these T-bolts. Slide right in here like that. So it's fully adjustable when you're putting your brackets on. Everything can be adjusted. If you have any, maybe you had some body damage, wasn't pulled straight, maybe just manufacturing tolerances, these make it really nice to bolt it in, and they also allow you to put on your cool fans, transmission coolers. It's a great way to mount things. And like I said, these are the brackets, how pretty they are. Look at these welds. These are really nice welds. You get all the hardware, everything you need. Now, transmission cooler. Flex-A-Lite makes a transmission cooler. They go all the way back to direct fit. No fabrication skills, no drilling and so on. All the way back to 72. Got some nice brackets. You get all the hoses. With the grill out and these brackets, it would mount something like this in front of the radiator. That way it cools your transmission good. Your automatic transmission is cooled well to give you great instructions, all the hoses, everything you need for that. Now, another thing that, this is a 2014, like I said. In 2013, Jeep changed their fan, the electric cool fan on the radiator, from a 2-wire to a 3-wire. It feeds back to the computer. You've got to use that fan. If you use an aftermarket fan, you'll have a check engine light. So Flex-A-Lite's got a kit they sell that adapts the Jeep fan that it came with to this radiator. All right, these little plastic things, I need to pull them out. These little trees. When you look at that, you just pop them up, and then you pop the body up. And that's how these things work. Save them because you're going to use them to put them back. It's a pretty good little job. I'm going to pull all these out. I got to pull out this air box. One other thing I want to show you from Flex-A-Lite, they use a fan controller. The fan controller is acting like a relay. These fan controllers work great. They control the cool fan. If you put an aftermarket fan, by the way, they make all kinds of fans, big fans even fans that'll cool a big block. Turns the fans on at about 60% power, so it's not a shock to the electrical system. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish taking this thing apart, stick this radiator in. We come back, I'll see you with the Ford motor. I know I promised you every week that we do some work on the Ford engine, and I'm ready to get to work on it, but I'm out of time. I spent so much time in that Jeep. I was actually having a good time. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Be sure to stop by Sam's Garage next week, and we'll continue on.